Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sim Racing Alliance. We are here with Season 10 and Round 1.
Boogity, let's go racing as the green flag jobs.
Looking maybe even full wide.
They're fanning out, there's a bit of contact. He's got the outside.
Side, that's a great move.
He's got plenty of speed in there, and he's being held up.
He's gonna have a better run. Yeah, it's gonna stick it on the outside.
Well, that's a late move. 296 Ferrari, though, finds a space.
He didn't have it.
We're off and away for SRA.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 11. We're here with Round 1 in Division 1. It's a brand new day for the Sim Racing Alliance. I'm Andrew Reif, joined by Selena Boonstra and newcomer Alexa Marshall. But Selena, how are we feeling about this brand new season? Loads of fun tracks to come in Division 1 action on the table. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Like, it's great to be back commentating for another season, season 11. And honestly, commentating on D1, I've seen a lot of familiar names on the leaderboard. So I'm very excited to see what Division 1 goes about for tonight and for the rest of the season.
And I'm very excited to bring on Alexa Marshall to the table. I know it says for some reason that she is American on the broadcast package, but that is indeed not true. Coming at us from across the pond, so nice to have you on the stream.
Yeah, I was about to mention, like, why the heck is my flag American? No, if you can't tell by my accent, yeah, you got a Brit in here. But yeah, it's definitely going to be different for me. I come from the console side of things, and I've been trying to see what I can get from the YouTube side of things. But first time doing a PC league, it's definitely going to be interesting to look out for, especially up here in the top division for round 1, as, of course, it's round 1, anything can happen.
Man, we're talking about the quote-unquote broadcast split, but as we know, every single one is. And talking about what we're going to see today, let's go ahead and take a quick look at our track map. It's Barcelona for round 1, and this a relatively tight and twisty circuit for the most part, incredibly technical in all 3 sectors, I would argue. You know, the famous 1, 2, 3 complex has a lot of potential action going on. I mean, Selena, what are you thinking about here for Division 1 especially? This feels like it's going to be a wonderful opener to put their skills on display.
Oh yeah, I mean, Barcelona is very well known for literally having pretty much all of the corners you can think of in like in racing. So I'd say like the chicane is going to be a doozy, and we all know in another world, the real world, that chicane no longer exists now. So um so the chicane I know is definitely going to be one of those to look out for, and I'd say maybe around sector 1 would be also to look out for those overtakes if anyone goes deep, or just maybe the switchback or whatever. I mean, yeah, looking forward to that.
I mean, we've seen a lot of performance variation, especially talking about the Hot Lap leaderboard. It's headed up by one Michael Menning in the #1 car, driving the Ford Mustang GT3. Brand new vehicle for this season, and oh my God, has he been fast in it. And of course, taking the win last season overall is impressive, but not only that, Michael Menning was able to put himself on the top step of the podium in every single race that he participated in. Fortunately, he left a little bit to the opposition in round 6 at Wet Spa-Francorchamps. But talking about what to expect out of this race, I feel like he is going to be the #1 name on at the end of the day, because like I said, you know, top of the high lap leaderboard, absolutely annihilated even the best of the best drivers that we have on offer here. But there's a lot of familiar names for returning drivers. Mr. Sir, of course, Michael Menning's teammate, was #2 in the standings, but Jacob Palmieri, brand new to Division 1, had a bit of a meteoric rise over the last couple of seasons. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. He's going to be driving the Mercedes AMG, which he has been rather familiar with But talking about strengths of cars, it's really difficult to say if any single one is going to have a particular advantage. Of course, we do apply a custom balance of performance to try and keep the racing close, but that Ford Mustang has been a little bit of an X factor. I know we have at least one team participating in this division. I can see a second one down the list as well. It's Vroom Vroom with Danny Durant, or excuse me, not Danny Durant. That's going to be Brandon Chan and Mikhail Charles, who are driving the Mustang GT3. I don't know, though. If I had to pick a favorite car, I'd probably go with the Porsche 992. I think I'm a little bit biased on that. Selena, I know you're on that boat, too.
I'm
Alexa,
very on that boat.
any thoughts?
Well, for me, with this circuit, of course, I'm going to go with the longer name here, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. I'd say the cars which have the engine in the front may actually be the ones to look out for here. Of course, with the prolonged corners and the sharp and twisty corners, I'm obviously referring to the final chicanes, the final chicane, and as well as turn 7 and turn 3, the prolonged and the sharp corners. I'd say the front engine cars are definitely going to have the advantage around here, and especially through that chicane, you need to look out for, as if somebody messes up through there and somebody else nails it, it can very much set you up for a move down the main straight and into turn number 1.
That's very true. And talking about major overtaking spots, of course, that is going to be the place where drivers look to do it, because if you can manage to go on the inside of turn number 1, of course, it gives you a little bit more strength through 2 and 3. And then, of course, it's drag race all the way down to T4. So we'll take a look here at the track map yet again. It does look like we're taking a little bit of extra time with the driver's briefing, which my co-commentators actually quite predicted here for round 1. But I went live with us anyway. But taking a look here at that track map again, you can see exactly what we're talking about. Of course, end of the straight, turn 1 and 2. It can get a little bit dicey through there, but if you can hold the inside line into 3, force the opposition onto the less grippy outside line, they're going to have to lift off that little bit, or maybe even face getting a track cut warning, which, of course, if you rack up 3 of those and then go over the line one more time, you are going to be subjected to a significant penalty, one that one might argue is a little bit race ruining, especially when the field is as tightly packed as it is. But then, of course, through the midfield, there's not a whole lot of overtaking opportunity. So that's why we're looking down at the main straight. Talking a little bit further down the calendar, though, as I believe we're still kind of waiting for the server to go up, we can take a moment here in round 1, prior to the race start, prior to qualifying, prior to anything, take a look a little bit here at what we have lined up for the season. And I, in particular, I think many, many others are looking at week 6 on the Nordschleife, and nothing less than the green hell for a 60-minute race. It seems like an interesting choice, but I have to say I'm excited.
Oh, I am very looking forward to the Nordschleife. Very. And I've been going really hard on that track. So I'm very looking forward to seeing that later on this season. And I'll be there for it. So that's a plus.
I should hope so. Yeah, you and I are not in the same division this go around, but I'll still be excited for it nonetheless. I mean, looking down the rest of the list, though, we do have a couple of other contenders on the table. I'm looking at my list actually right now, and it does not show, but Watkins Glen for week 8. We got Imola week 2, Suzuka in week 3, Spa-Francorchamps at night for week 4. Donington Park also on the calendar. Alexa, anything standing out to you on this one? Would you have any favorites?
I mean, I'm totally going to be a stereotype here, but I'm British. Donington Park, it's my home circuit. It's very technical, and it's also very hard to overtake. And I definitely do think that Donington, as well as Imola, are really going to be a testament to the driver's skill, as realistically, it's hard to overtake, but if anybody messes up, they are going to be severely punished and fall very far down the order, as I can see everybody going nose to tail throughout those circuits.
Yeah, I agree with Donington. I mean, back in season 8, I was in Division 4 and I got my first podium. So Donington is, if it's any British track, it's Brands Hatch and Donington. Donington is a pretty solid track. I had fun there.
Brands Hatch. I've got some bad memories of Brands Hatch personally, but I can't help but agree it is quite a quality circuit in that, and I'm looking forward to Donington Park as well. But Coda in the wet is going to be an interesting one for week 7. I still can't personally see the race servers coming up, so I'm trying to petition a little bit and see if maybe there's something stalling in the background.
Should be up because I'm in it.
The driver's the driver's briefing is over. I think I might be having some issues on my end.
Maybe if you if you click accessible, maybe everything will show up.
Let me see here.
Should be there.
Yes. So just for context, everybody, I did have my game completely hard crash earlier on, and it reset all of my settings, which might explain as to why I was not seeing it, because I had the wrong filters on. So there we go. Thank you, Selena, for your help. And we're finally into the server here. Going to be getting on board a little bit late with the qualifying session, but we are here indeed and just about ready to go. So it looks like we are just in time to, I believe, catch the queue of cars. Starting up here in the back.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely what we talked about going into this Barcelona circuit, and especially that chicane where everybody's going to be parked up. But currently watching Jay Allen in the Lamborghini, I believe it is the Huracan Evo 2, if I am correct. Obviously going down here through turn, I believe that is turn number I believe that was turn number 5 into turn yeah, there it is, turn number 6, and then into turn number 7. Probably, this may be controversial, but turn number 7, probably the most important corner here in qualifying, as that sets you up for the run up the hill into the right-hander and onto the middle straight of this circuit.
Quite a challenging one to get right, and of course these are the first couple of qualifying laps, so you kind of just probably want to get a bit of a banker in here. And of course, with an incredibly complicated circuit, you're going to want to take things easy for the start. And it does look like Bailey Kish is shortly behind here, also racing in that Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. So I'm looking for some quality laps here from the Silvers, but Jason Allen being the first one out on the circuit, we'll follow him across the line, presently speaking, and see what he's got in the bank. Of course, Division 1 probably going to be seeing some low 53s, if not a high 52 for that pole time. The track temperature is fairly nominal, and we see a 44.4 as the first lap on the board. Nothing particularly special, but not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to look out for as Emoro goes fastest in the Mercedes, and it's definitely going to be interesting, like we said, what each car is going to be strong around here, as it's a fairly spread field, it's a fairly spread circuit as well, actually, as it is going to be all over the place in my opinion. But as a Lambo driver, personally from my experience, it's a very strong car around this circuit, but it cannot really compete with the McLarens or the Mercedes. But of course, we've got the Ford Mustang in here looking to make its mark.
Indeed. Seeing Roy K driving the McLaren 720S Evo. This is the car, one of my personal rivals from the first season that I raced here, and it's wonderful to see him up here in Division 1. He's got a bit of an improvement going on, about 3/10 up on his lap in that Macca with all the downforce in the package. Can also be quite strong around this circuit. And, I mean, discussing strong cars, the Porsche is one that actually quite likes this one. I know Valencia is a huge fan of the Porsche 992 as well, so perhaps it's just Spain, Selena.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I mean, I remember pulling out crazy times at, well, I mean, it wasn't updated, but I remember pulling like pretty good times on the one-tail leaderboard last season, and the Porsche is really good at these like flowy type tracks that just have like those technical corners, and it really shines through there with like that great arrow that it has on it, and it's really fun to go through as well.
Okay, it's about to finish out their lap. 4/10 up roughly on their time, maybe losing a little bit out of the chicane. Can be a challenging corner to get the power down on correctly, maybe use of all the track, but it will be a slight improvement up into P3 at present. Mikhail Charles is also going quite quickly compared to their previous lap here in the Ford Mustang. As we mentioned, 2 teams running that, so 4 drivers in total on that car, and it's going to be a wonderful improvement at that, a 143.8, just a little bit ahead of Spect.
Yeah, a very decent lap time there for this circuit, and it's really going to be interesting overall as everybody is starting to get their banker laps in at the start of qualifying. Of course, it's nice and long, solid 14 minutes left, but it can be people who we are not seeing at the top right now at the top by the end of it all, as currently watching Spech. I am so sorry if I watched that pronunciation, as we head to the line on board of the McLaren, goes fastest, with a very decent lap time of a 1 minute 43.565. Selena.
Oof, that's crazy times already. I mean, we are definitely getting into the faster part with just about 3 minutes left on the qualifying time, and I'd say, yeah.
No, it's solid. You know, I'm
Yeah,
trying to put it down a little
solid.
bit, but
I'm like blown away, and I'm just thinking like right now, I'm like, oh man, to make these times, oh wait, Division 1. Everyone's fast.
I'd have to pay for the 110% grip DLC in order to run a time like that, but here they are doing it rather leisurely.
It's quite unbelievable, like with the grip going on here. Like it just, like from a point of view, like from here, just watching it, it's like their grip, like I don't know how they mitigate the grip like that, because I know I'm struggling. But anyway, we'll see one day.
Here's a nice improvement for Gustavo Sanz, who goes 1 minute 43.7. Again, very respectable time. We got Andrew Wilson improving behind them as well. These top 10 or so separated by about 0.6 of a second, but I feel like those times are going to continue to tumble. Nate Specht is still trying to improve on their lap. He is just about to come across the line actually with almost a net neutral delta. I'm still on board here with Wilson, almost 2.5 tenths up through this last corner. Again, very challenging to get right, trying to use all that curb on the exit, and it will be a marginal improvement up into P5.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Like, even if it's just marginal, it can make the difference overall. I was watching Drebs with the Porsche, not very far, the only Porsche of the two actually to be starting to get pretty far up. It's currently sat P12, however, on an improvement, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how far they can get up, as the top 10 separated by 5.35 of a second. So it's going to be quite an interesting one overall as we head into sector number 3. And this is probably where you want to try and nail your car as much as you can and use as much curb as possible. Of course, you have to use the chicane now because you don't have that outside line like they do in real life at the moment. So it's a lot slower, it's a lot harder to nail, but you want to get as much curb as you can on the exit, over the white, over the yellow sausage curb just a little bit, onto the inside curb, onto the outside, pedal to the metal, foot to the floor as he goes to the line, up into P11. Not too bad.
Not bad indeed. It looks like there's still time on the table though for Landon. He'll have one more flying lap, but it looked like the tires were starting to slide around just a little bit on that one. I'll go back on board with Nate Specht. We're going to give him a little bit more screen time here in the Champion Motorsports McLaren. So he's trying to improve on the current pole time of a 143.56. I remind you guys that the best time that we've seen so far on the seasonal high lap leaderboard was Michael Menning, who is currently sitting in the pit lane, if memory serves, waiting to go out with the gold drivers. And for Nate Specht, this will be about 1/10 of an improvement up to a 143.47. Incredibly respectable time there, and that should probably be good enough here for the silver pole. Guy Manperson might still have a say in it. 143.7 is his benchmark right about now, and he's up by about 1/10 here in just the first couple of turns.
Yeah, it's definitely not too bad. Of course, turn number 3, of course, where you want to also try and nail it is if you go too wide, you are definitely going to invalidate. But down into turn 4, of course, I'm going to throw it back a little bit. 2016, we could see some interesting stuff there in the races. Of course, Rosberg and Hamilton, famous for that corner. But the rest of the track, pretty lackluster from a bit of history. But honestly, such a nice and flowing circuit. And when you nail it in a qualifying lap time, it is perfection. Your thoughts on that, Selena?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it feels quite rewarding once you get all of that down pat, like integrated into your brain. And it's not an easy track at all. And I mean, obviously, I struggle with it a lot, but once you get it, it feels really rewarding, considering on how tough it is and how technical the track can be. And also with a huge factor and with the track difficulty is the big hot track conditions going on right now at 35 degrees Celsius for a track temp. So the tires are definitely cooked, and it does not help with the difficulty of the track.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, heck, if it was that hot in the UK, we would all be complaining. Probably just like the tyres are complaining right now. But if you can get your tyres to behave, then that is what you want to do. As I do believe we now have some gold drivers coming out, watching Spangler, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in his McLaren. Who do you think is going to be topping this timesheet, Andrew?
It's got to be Menning. There's no way it's not. I would love for Jacob Palmieri to put his name in the hat, but I feel like Michael Menning is the one for me to watch. And talking about the silver pole time, Specht beats out P2 by 0.245 seconds, which is a not insignificant gap for this high up. So that's a wonderful representation there. If you're looking to try to take the victory in the Silver Championship, this is a wonderful way to start, really establishing your dominance early on. And as you mentioned, we got the golds starting to lead out now. So keeping my eye on Menning and Palmieri. Mr. Sir, though, in the Mustang alongside their teammate who has very much impressed us with the lap time so far. He's going to start his first flyer here, I think, on this lap with just that one car ahead. We'll see if we can get on board with this one.
Yeah, I mean, here in the golds, it's definitely going to be interesting up top. Of course, with Silver, they've done their qualifying lap time, so we've seen what they can do. But I wonder what the gap is going to be between the gold and silver, of course, because for all we know, it's the start of a brand new season. The silver and golds could, in fact, be very, very close to each other. And it will be interesting to see how that happens in the race. But if you want to avoid the golds, you want to get as high up in the qualifying as you can. Of course, looking at we do have the Ford in the game now. What the heck is a kilometre? But after all, it's gonna be interesting to see what everybody will be able to do. You said Michael Menning to go top. Overall, who do you think is going to be looking good today, Selena?
I'm going to say Michael Menning, honestly. I mean, I think he has another shot at a back-to-back champion title for the team series, because he was, obviously I didn't commentate last season, but for Division 1, but I think that he's really fast, and I think he's more than likely going to win for this first round of the SRA GT3 team series.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. We're seeing what he's been doing in the timings, but of course, anything can happen in the races. Just a minor mess up, a few lockups here and there. Heck, he could even drop all the way to the back of the grid after a lap 1 incident as we head down into the chicanes, and you want to nail this to get it absolutely perfect. Lovely jubbly, sound as a pound, onto the final few corners, pedal to the metal, foot to the floor. It's going to go all the way to the line, and he goes top. 1 minute 42.915. Absolutely no surprise there.
Nuts.
Wow.
Absolutely nuts. No other way to describe it. First
wow.
lap too.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
unbelievable.
You got the freshest tires, right? And the temp's not quite building up yet. We talked about it, you know, the track temperature isn't exactly optimal, but oh my God, for Michael Menning just to be on it immediately. We saw him in a couple of spots. He really, you know, he's making those micro adjustments through the corner, really driving the car as much as he can on the exact limit of grip. But we're seeing a lot of improvements here. If you look at the left side of your screen, you can see Dan Cran slotted in P5, Dominic Duran in P8, and Jeremy Mercer out in 11th, but they're all making improvements, so watch for those times to start getting a little bit scattered in there. This is Flanger coming across the line with about a 4/10 improvement, and he moves way up the order into P3. I'll get on board with Mr. Sir as well. Michael Menning's teammate, they would love to lock out another championship if they possibly could. Right now, his benchmark at 144 flat, but almost a second up on his time. Maybe took a little bit too much of the sausage curve there in the first turn of the chicane, but now foot flat to the floor on the exit here, using as much of that curb as you can. He might still be looking for an improvement moving forward here, but it's a nice P2 for Mr. Sir.
Do we need to have an intervention?
Michael Menning is 4/10 from his previous lap time, 142.9. So,
oh my! And he's just about a
wow. He lost a little. He lost a little bit, but wow, 142.6. He's just really laying down the lap times.
Are we sure this man's human?
There's a reason
I
they call
know,
them aliens, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he is an alien, so no surprise there. But wow, it's just ludicrous stuff. Crazy.
Spangler coming across to improve by a couple of positions. Escorcia on a bit of an improvement here. And I can see Mr. Sir's Delta is in the green right now too, but we can't stick on with those racers for the entire show. Otherwise, things would get pretty boring. I'm sure they're probably going to see a lot of open track in front of them for the next couple of minutes. But Escorcia maybe losing a little bit of time to that fast right hand. They're almost flat out, even 2/10 down. They must have bottomed out a little bit on the inside curb. There might still be some time to save in the lap, but they're going to be wanting that one back, so they'll probably make another run at it. Further down the field, I see Latore on a rather significant improvement here through the chicane, but they just lost all of that time. I did not see what kind of error came through there. They might have even locked up and gone through the chicane, which would explain my race control having a bit of an aneurysm there, but they're going to have a very marginal improvement, if any, right now in P20 for the Golds. Even further down the field, Wilson still looking to move up some spots, and Rados right behind.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson in the Lamborghini, put your front engines in and you go to the floor, and it's lovely jubbly up into P13, and it's not too bad for him overall, getting in the thick of it. And honestly, I'd say that we may see the two Fords up top. However, I'd say we may actually have a quite interesting midfield fight here, and anything can happen, especially in round one.
Want to go on board with Mercer in this McLaren here. Yeah. Mercer, who I feel like is going to be one of the stronger midfield contenders through this season, if not one of those that will be fighting in the top 10, but still kind of struggling for a little bit of time here. 143.5, again, is respectable, but you're only just inside the top 10 here in Division 1.
Yeah, only just about, but of course, Sector 3, like I said earlier, very interesting sector, and if you messed it up in the few laps before, and you could just get major improvements without even realising as we head down into the chicane. And don't get too much on the sausage curb, watching the McLaren, and it's pedal to the metal, foot to the floor, onto the yellow sausage curb a little bit, hit the inside curb, on the outside, all the way to the line, currently P10, up to P6, lovely lap time, very good improvement, 1 minute 43.460 flat.
So little time separating the drivers in the top 10, and I'm seeing Michael Menning, that 142.6 is standing completely apart from the rest of the field. Mr. Sir in P2, I might remind you, who just improved his time, is still 5/10 off of that pace.
Yeah, it's definitely not too bad, and honestly, it's quite interesting, honestly. Sorry if I seem a bit flabbergasted, guys. We don't have the Ford on console, okay? I did not realise people were this much of aliens in it. But going to the line, currently on board with, I believe, yeah, that's Robinson, P13, unlucky for some. How do you think it's really going to stack up at the end of this, though, Selena?
Yeah, I'm still flabbergasted by like that time. I'm like, sorry about that, but yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be. Well, I'm just looking right now that Michael Menning is half a second ahead of Mr. Sir, and the rest of the field is pretty well around the same time, if not like a few hundredths and a few tenths around each other, like just a tenth. And it's gonna be, and as qualifying is over now, it's gonna be very interesting to see the lap 1 shenanigans going on, but hopefully there will be no shenanigans. But we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, yeah, very decent. Finishes P12 with the checkered flag now fallen here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. As we look currently at the McLaren of the number 67, Lehman, and we've got Robinson, who's now down into P14, slightly up on his lap time, however very easy to lose it. Lehman currently nearly 2/10 up around the final corners, got to be putting the foot to the floor once again, as if you know where that's from, you know where that's from. Heading down to the main finish line, P15, not too bad with 1 minute 43, 647. Everybody within the 1 minute 43 so far. very minuscule field spread, apart from the top, of course.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference. But yeah, everybody else is just like within a tenth or a hundredth of each other. So I mean, in terms of qualifying times, it's very close.
But I have to ask if we're surprised. You know, I
No.
feel
No.
I really do
Definitely
feel
not.
obliged because
Nope.
these guys are just
Definitely not.
insane. And then, of course, you still have Michael Menning. He is the real outlier here. Maybe we should just have an alien division where we pay people to try to come and beat Michael Menning. Because he's
or
an
like the
untouchable
first
pull
villain.
time. What?
Just
Oh.
the championship where it's 1v1 every single week, and if you don't, and if you fail, then oh well.
Yeah.
Like
And
somebody
then
just dethroned it. Somebody dethroned this man.
That's
Truly
crazy.
ludicrous.
Yeah.
Get a look here at the field, and talking about we have a pretty, I would say, nominal spread here. Nate Speck, that silver pole. I mean, look at the gap all the way down to P41. Excuse me, P41. No, P13. That's number 41. Zach Martin, who is P2 for the silvers. It looks like if Speck can keep up this kind of qualifying, if this is going to be a bit of a precursor to what's to come this season, he's going to have a fairly good season, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's only round 1, so we can't say too much. We'll have to wait till the end of the race, and of course, we got a nice spread of tracks across the season as well. But like you said, this could definitely be a precursor for the rest of the season. What about you, Selena?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think that just because this is round 1, I mean, anything can happen. Like it's all laid on the table right now, and we'll start to really see who will be the champion at the end of the season. Which, of course, but yeah, I mean, it's still anyone's race, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
For the whole
Actually, yeah. In fact, shall we allow Andrew to take us through the grid order?
Well, of course, Michael Menning and Mr. Sir here at the top, which, by the way, I might add, pole position taken by the Ford Mustang GT3, but if you had any qualms about potentially it being the strongest car by far because of the pace differential, well, Mr. Sir, equal machinery and presumably access to the same setups if it tickles your fancy to their teammate. But Michael Menning still managed that gap by a significant amount, and of course, it is going to be Mr. Sir lining up next to their teammate, followed by Dominic Duran, Nate Speck, Gomer Wilson, Peter O'Brien, Omar Escorcia, Jeremy Mercer, Dan Cran, and Jeff Spangler to finish out the top 10. Flamger just behind with Kelvin Lau, Zach Martin, Travis Robinson. They're going to have Lehman just behind them in that 67 McLaren. In that 15th position, and of course the biggest points paying positions are going to be roundabouts to that top 15, top 10 if you can make it happen, with Mia Rose just behind as well in P16. Really the lowest golds that we have are, we do have one fairly far down the order, but they start to peter out here around that midfield area. Jacob Palmieri actually with a relatively low qualifying position for kind of what I was expecting. You have Gustavo Sanz just behind them, with Guy Manperson following up on their wing. Very experienced driver indeed in that BMW, going to be a little bit weaker at this track, I suspect. So it could be a bit lethargic. Latore in the 257 Ferrari here next to Andrew Wilson. Mikhail Charles in the Ford Mustang GT3, which, as we said before, if you have any qualms about it being a very, very strong car, we've got equal machinery all the way down here in the order. Granted, it is a silver driver. Andrew Rados is going to be one of the lower down golds here, and just about rounding that one out with Jason Allen and Roy Kay in 24th and 25th position. Brian Ryder, Eric Morrow, Glendon Drebus, it'll be Colin Dunham, Bailey Kish, Dan Good, Bez Borodka in the 669 Porsche, David Ramirez, Luis Daniel Velez, Brendan Chan, and Patrick Rust rounding out the order.
Yeah, Velez seeming to get very unlucky in qualifying. Maybe some major slip-ups, or maybe it's just some very dirty air. Lowest gold of all, and nearly basically the back of the grid, as everybody will line up in double file, I do believe, as we head towards the final few corners. And Selena, your predictions for lap 1?
Well, first, for starters, hopefully no incidents. Hopefully everything is all clean and fine and dandy. But aside from that, I think it. Well, I mean, we all know like Michael P1 pole sitter currently, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Usual.
definitely gonna be. Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one. What about you, Andrew?
I feel like Nate Specht is going to make some moves. I feel like this is going to be a driver who either holds their position, you know, again, a silver here in P4, very strong lap time. I feel like they're either going to hold position or they're going to move forward here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, and the Silvers will probably be here to prove their worth as we go around the final corner. Ensure everybody gets through the final chicane. The Fords are on the front row. Will they hold out? Will they be able to nail everything as it's boogity, boogity, boogity? Let's go racing as the green flag drops, and away we go. Field getting very tight further back, heading down towards turn number 1. Maybe look for a cheeky move down the inside, as I believe that is Duran already looking for a move on Sir down the inside at turn number 1. Oh, that's contact. Sir just about catching the car, loads of drivers off, and everybody trying to catch it. I believe that is the Barbie car off in the background as Loud looking for the move maybe. Very tight, all over the place, wheel to wheel, side by side. I do believe, yes it is, as Wilson versus as well, okay, ACC just doing its thing of making the grid order be really weird sometimes. Definitely does this on the console as well. I need to get used to that. As Duran still trying to make his way through the field, holding his position, but you got to wonder, will that turn 1 incident be investigated after the race?
I can almost say with certainty that it will be.
We got some incident going on the back. Jacob Palmieri all the way back into P36 last. I have no idea what happened there. Along with Timothy Flamger.
I'm seeing as well a lot of drive-through penalties being administered throughout the field. As many already starts to pull a gap. I've seen Zach Martin, Lehman has got a drive-through penalty, and further down the field, Rados and Dunham also with drive-through penalties in here off the back straight. You can see turn 10, it's an absolute car park. You're going 3 wide onto the exit. There's a little bit of contact there, a little bit of door banging in. That car is going to be run well wide. I can't see exactly who that is, but it is just elbows out here in towards the chicane. Now up the inside, they're going to try for the move, and they will just about get it done. Nicely done.
Yeah, very nicely done. Hopefully everybody can get through the chicane nice and clean. And I'm going to say that, I believe that was Ryder or Kesey. I believe that was good. Heading down the main straight, though. Here we go. Dunham looking for the move maybe in the slipstream. Of course, it's not F1. You don't have any DRS. The cars are very heavy. You probably don't want to go for a dive. Then I'm going to say that as we look to go 3 wide momentarily. Out contact. And I believe that was Good who has gone off. And that is going to be very unlucky for him. As we look at Robinson, I'm pretty sure Robinson got banned in the United States. I don't know why, it's just a blackcurrant juice. As looking a bit further back, Alan, I believe on Martin, or is it Martin on Alan? It's wheel to wheel, side by side, heading down into turn number 4, down the inside. Lovely little move. Nice and easy squeezy, sound as a pound. Wheel to wheel, side by side, once again, Alan and Alan up in front of the Aston Martin, I do believe, or is it a McLaren? Can't really tell from that angle, or maybe it was an Audi, but lovely little move there. Andrew, thoughts on that opening lap?
Yeah, there was an absolute chaos, and going 3 wide down there into turn 1, or at least making an attempt to. I mean, they're surely giving us the action that we wanted, but Jason Allen with a wonderful move there, as you mentioned, in towards turn 3, maybe a little bit wide there on the exit down into the middle straight now. But it is Mr. Sir and Michael Menning who are just absolutely running away with things, and it was a lot of action there in the midfield. I wish I could have seen it all. My race control is being a little bit wonky today, so I have yellow flags for everybody at all times. I can't see what exactly is going on. with that. So my apologies. I believe we just saw Jacob Palmieri getting by Brennan Chen, and for a driver who started in 30s, or who started a little bit lower down the order, then demoted to P36, already back into P30. I think we had a couple of cars pit out early on. It is a mandatory pit stop for this race, but here are the race leaders. Mr. Sir right behind Michael Menning. I say right behind, a gap of 7/10 with relatively little else going on for them is not necessarily anything to write home about. Peter O'Brien, though, is holding up on the back here of Nate Specht.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one to look out for, as O'Brien on the back of him. Definitely a bit too far back to go for a move. However, of course, turn 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Very crucial corners at the start of this lap, as any minor mess up can send you spinning and barreling into the gravel. And if you go into the gravel, you're going to be losing a lot of places. Selena, what are your thoughts on everything that's happened so far?
A lot of things. But yeah, I mean, once you, like, this track, I think we mentioned earlier, like, if you go into the gravel, like, you're gonna lose, like, quite a lot of positions. And I mean, we've got 35 drivers, and I mean, quite a lot of drivers showing up today. And I think, yeah, it's one of those tracks where it's like you cannot really make a mistake on, and it's difficult track, as we mentioned earlier. But yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
simple way to put this race so far. Crazy stuff and an alien. Simple way to put this race so far, as we see the Porsche versus a Lamborghini, I do believe, heading down. No,
Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes board not updating for some reason. Bit weird on my side of things, but we'll deal with it as we continue going, as we head down into the final corner. As actually, I believe we have a move there in the background as we look to P14 of Landon Drebs, my apologies. Blame my accent, okay, guys, as we head up through to number 3. Very wide there off the circuit. That may actually give the Mercedes right behind him a little bit of space to close in the gap. Maybe looking for a bit of a danger, maybe looking for the move down into what I believe to be turn number 9 with this old layout. And it's definitely going to be quite an overtaking opportunity there, as it is the heavy braking of turn number 9 into the basically a hairpin left-hander instead of the very flowing left-hander, which of course got introduced for MotoGP, and all other racing categories have just gone and adopted it.
We just saw a moment ago, it was Palmieri who lost the position to Velez in front, who is now trying to chase down for that, but kind of getting around. You can see Gustavo Sanz actually getting a little bit of argy-bargy going with Landon Drebs. They're not going to quite have the move done, but they are close behind indeed. Actually, it was Landon who got in front. I must have missed that one. They're off the back straight. We're jumping around a lot here with race control, giving me a lot of very, very small deltas. Usually it's a little bit easier in the lower division, so my apologies as we kind of get the grips with this a little bit, but it certainly has been action-packed here for Division 1. A little bit of contact here and again, a little bit of wide moments, but nothing too severe. Mostly just some quality racing. And I mean, speaking on that note again, you know, going back to our leaders, it's Michael Menning way out in front here with a 1.5 second gap to Mr. Sir, and then 2.5 behind is Duran, still under pressure from Nate Specht, but they're holding position there.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look out for, and to be fair, they are up top at the moment. However, there is one thing I do definitely think about. You can see it up top there, pit window open, people can pit whenever. How much of an effect are pit stops going to be playing in this race? As I believe, please do correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe it is a mandatory pit stop for tyres and fuel is optional. So we do have to wonder, are people going to be running low fuel at the start and then going heavier towards the end, or heavy at the start and lower towards the end?
So correct you very slightly, it is mandatory tires, but fueling is not actually allowed. So we can expect race fuel loads for everybody out there on the circuit right now, unless Jacob Palmieri wants to pull a little bit of his goofy tactics with massive fuel saving, as we saw at the Red Bull Ring last season. But they will be on race fuel for the entire distance. But those tires, as you mentioned, are going to be crucial later on, trying to get a little bit of extra grip, maybe a little bit of an undercut. I do believe we've had a couple of pitters already, which may have been for the rationale of sustaining some damage there in the T1 incident.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Yeah, you can have it, Selena.
I'm very glad that there's mandatory tire pit stop, because Barcelona is just one of those tracks where it just eats the rear tires, especially the Porsche. So it's gonna be good for not just the Porsche, but like for many of the other drivers as well. Just being, I bet they're very relieved that this comes into play with the mandatory tire change.
Yeah, very true. As we see Mia Rose right now looking for a lovely little move, heading down and through turn number 3. However, unable to get past so far. But in my opinion, from what I've seen and what I've been trying to watch, personally, I feel like Mia Rose is a bit of an underdog in this. Your thoughts, Andrew?
No, I completely agree with you on that one. And Mia Rose, who I believe has actually made up a few positions for at that already. It looks like their McLaren has taken a little bit of a hit. But what's a little bit of aero damage between friends? As long as it doesn't upset the balance, things are going to be okay with you. I see further down the field right now, actually want to jump on board. It's Bailey Kish in the Lamborghini trying to make something happen here against Ramirez up the inside of the turn 5 hairpin. It's looking like a solid move here for Kish. But these little kicks to the fast left-hander, it's going to be challenging for the 447 to stay in it, but they're going to try, and contact is made.
Contact!
Oh!
They're still in it,
On
though.
my side.
They're going to keep it, they are going to keep it.
Oh.
Kish, no, just a bit of extra traction on the exit. Lovely jubbly. You want to move. You got to give him credit for that.
What a move. That was crazy right there. But Bailey Kish made it happen, and he stuck to it.
I believe we missed a move there. I think Mikhail Charles might have just run it a little bit wide, allowing Morrow through. And Mia Rose actually lost the position, showed on my race control to Dan Cran, but I think that may have been Mia trying to go for a move, getting that position very briefly on my overlay, and then having to concede it once again. So she most likely trying to make things happen here, and you can see Charles kind of dropping back, and Mia is all over the back of that 16 in front. It shows us the black carbon fiber McLaren for me, and it almost looked like contact there, but I think that may have been a little bit of net code, because it looks like they're getting on fine.
Looks like there has been an overtake with P18 and, oh wait, excuse me, what is, that is P19 and, between P19 and P18 with Wilson and Latour. I believe that is, hopefully that's correct. Don't want to butcher the last names, but solid move there on the straight, just taking that slipstream and got the job done.
Very nice move. As here we go, watching Casey and Wilson in front. From the livery, what I can see, I definitely do believe that these two are teammates. And I'm just going to say some things about the liveries here. For anybody who doesn't know it, we can see the carbon fiber car of Mia Rose, however, of course, running the Barbie livery. Also, Charles, are you sure you're not a safety car? I was actually going to move away from that. Speaking of Mia, going for the move, round the outside, lovely jubbly, lick the stamp and send it. What lovely little move there by Mia. Definitely an underdog, like we were just talking about. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that was a move on the middle straight as well. Mia finally losing her patience with Dan Cran and making that move happen. Wonderfully done, and looking to try and secure a potential top 10 spot here, where there is a little bit of fighting going on. I'm noticing the gap is quite low, but now it's going to most likely be a defensive scenario. Dan Cran looking for that slipstream potentially, but the McLaren doesn't really play very nicely with that arrow wash, as she found out a couple laps ago. Here comes Cran, maybe for the move up the inside of turn 1. She goes wide out on the outside, trying to stick it, and Cran is going to be up the inside. And held very nicely for Mia Rose into turn 3.
She does not want him by, that's for sure. She's just taking all the initiative to just do everything that she can to just stay on her line and just stay in P13 and defend it. Solid work.
Yeah, definitely. Also, are we sure she's not listening to us? Because as soon as we started talking about her, she put the pedal to the metal, and she's just been on another level of pace here from what we're seeing.
Oh, yeah. I'm in P12. Wonder if she's. I'm not sure if she's. She probably is gaining.
P11 now. Yes. As you mentioned, Alexa, the dashboard is a little bit slow to update in game. I fortunately have the wonderful asset of race control with me, but it can also be slightly confusing at times. Something I'm trying to, keep my eye on. Of course, Mia Rose is now heading up this train. 5 cars with Dan Cran, Guy Manbers, and Landon Drebes, Gustavo Sanz, and Moro, who's kind of, 3 seconds distant, but trying to have a sniff up on the back of that, and Sainz actually looking a little bit eager. Get this move down, maybe a bit of a snap there in that Mercedes, which can get slightly temperamental there on the power if you're not careful, but there's not really a whole lot of opportunity to make a move here against the Porsche in front.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, the main straight, that's probably your best opportunity, or down towards turn number... Pardon me. Okay. As for some reason... All right, back to it. Lost my composure for a second. Sorry, guys. But like I was saying, turn 1 and turn number 9, your best overtaking opportunities. Maybe also turn number 10, but through the chicane, that's where you want to get it done. As Bailey currently looking to defend and down the inside. Lovely jubbly, like Verstappen said. I know I say it a lot. It's basically a catchphrase, but lovely little move there. But the Mercedes, but the 2 Lambos here, giving it everything, and you can't really deny them. But maybe a bit of a rear end lock, but maybe a little bit of a mess up there by Alan, losing the rear end.
Yeah, giving everything and maybe a little bit more, and this is actually Diego Latorre being taken by Mikhail Charles in the turn 5 hairpin, just about. It looks like they might be side by side going in towards that turn 6 and turn 7 kink, and that,
yes, he had the inside.
Yeah, that Ford stays on ahead.
Yep.
Very nicely done.
Those McLarens, though, charging from behind.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one
to each other. I assume they're teammates. By the way,
actually, I don't think so. I think they might be both using default liveries, or My Awesome Sim Racing just didn't sync, which I think is the more likely of the two. But
yeah, I forgot the things, but I mean, I was just like judging like the 2 white McLarens. But anyway, they're definitely charging like behind Latorre and
Charles.
Latorre.
It's a bit of a train. If you take the overhead view, you can kind of see it here with Charles leading that one up.
And the Audi's now up first. He's joining the little train up ahead, and Billy Kish not too far behind. He's 2.4 seconds behind Patrick Rust, and that follows with the another train behind them.
Worth noting as well, you talk about Bailey Kish forming up to the back of this train. The fastest lap, or excuse me, the last lap for the car leading this train was a 146.4. Kish last lap was a 144.8. So expect to see him join the fray here before long with pace like that.
Not too far behind Jason Allen as well, if he can keep up the pace with Bailey Kish as well.
Yeah, I mean, talking about this train, one thing that may also be contributing to this is, of course, car knowledge. Because, of course, you got the Ford up. You have got the Ford up there, of course, controlling it. However, the cars behind may be stuck behind him due to maybe a little bit of lack of car knowledge, as the Ferrari and the McLaren, of course, being cars older in this game. So they've been out longer, so you can get more knowledge about them. Whereas maybe Charles learning the Ford, it may take a while to get used to, and maybe that could be contributing to it. As just as we speak about that, maybe a little bit of a slip up on it. Going onto the grass, and gravel a little bit, that'll probably get a bit of wear on the tyres. Here we go, Lawrence going for the move, down the inside maybe. Diego going for it, but backs out of it, playing it safe for the time being. Selena, your thoughts on this train so far in this lovely little battle?
I honestly think with this train is that, well, Moro is, he's about wait a minute. The thing is, my angles are like interesting here. He's quite a bit ahead. So I'm thinking if Mikhail Charles keeps up the pace that he's doing, I'm pretty sure like this train is gonna catch up to that train ahead if it goes that way. But already right now it's like quite crazy enough with this little train. Oh, you know what? The train from behind? Yep. As we mentioned earlier, it's forming up now. Yep. I just noticed that by looking up ahead or behind. It's just forming up now.
Yes,
all aboard.
Look at that.
Choo-choo. It's not the only one as well. You know, we've been giving a heck of a lot of airtime to this, but you can see Mikhail Charles going well wide there on the entry to turn 5, and Latoya might be looking for something here.
Oh.
But honestly, if you're Wilson or Kay behind this, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about potential undercut? Do you think you're just trying to maybe save your tires a little bit for when inevitably one of them makes a mistake or they dip into the pits? What are you thinking right now if you are Wilson or Kay in this train? You've clearly got some very solid pace keeping up with this, but there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah, for sure, because they're like sandwiched in. Like now they're just like right in the midst of the train. Because now we've got like what? Like Mikhail, Torre, Wilson. Like we like just several cars behind them, and it's like, yeah. The gap like a little bit of an argy-bargy moment between Bailey Kish and Patrick Russ, so that gives Roy K a little bit of breathing room from behind.
Oh, wide. Very wide. Holy.
Ooh.
My goodness. Sorry. I think my race control just lied to me a little bit there. Kish will pull into the pits now, actually. I thought I saw a big change in the top 3 very suddenly. I wanted to hop on board with that if at all I could. We'll have to get the PIP up pretty soon this season, but you know we'll worry about that for another time. This is a very close battle, though. These trains further down the midfield, you know, you'd think we'd be talking about the front the whole time. No, not really. It's rather uneventful in the front, actually. Oh no!
Oh no! Oh, that's heartbreaking.
The train continues
Oh
around.
no!
It just goes on along the rails. We've had a minor derailment, but it keeps on going. But speaking about that train, you were talking about the 2 McLarens. Personally, this is just for me, but I'd be looking for an I would be looking for an undercut because they clearly have the pace. So get some fresh rubber on. It will be older towards the end, but get that fresh rubber on and see if you can get the undercut, I should say. Yeah,
because Torre and Mikhail Charles are just battling each other, and the wisest thing to do is just pit now, essentially, and get the pit over and done with, instead of just hanging behind and just waiting for a possible overtake.
I mean,
yeah. A few moments ago, he almost took an overtake on Mikhail Charles, but didn't quite get that done.
I really don't want to take my eyes off of this. We've got a whole
field
of like 36 cars out here on track right now, and I really don't want to take my eyes just off this one train. This could easily be a championship battle if it wasn't in round 1. Just like looking at it, Latoya has got a really solid potential run here, but that Ford is so much more powerful in a straight line if you take the screen cam here.
Right.
The slipstream is certainly helping the Ferrari along, but we've seen Mikhail, even with a worse exit, still pull away from the 257 behind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, personally for me, from what I'm seeing, the Ford definitely has the straight line speed. However, the Ferrari has the corners. And I feel like that's keeping this where it is at the moment, because they are catching each other. But when we get to a spot where, when we get onto the straights where Laronte can go for the overtake, the Ford just starts to pull away, and he's got to depend on that slipstream to pull him along.
Yeah, like right here, like in sector 2, where it's like the technical part of the, like one of the technical parts of the track, like that's where Latoya just shines, and Mikhail is struggling a little bit, but once he gets on the straights, he's all just pulling away already in that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, sorry to cut in here, as thank you very much, Andrew, for keeping it on that, as that is Ryder who has gone past Ramirez, and so is Good, actually. And lovely jubbly, it's nice and easy, but that's contact, and that is going to be the 2 McLarens who take the advantage, fly it through. Maybe that's what they've been waiting for, instead of brand new tyres. Just proving that anything can happen, and you just got to wait your time to take those opportunities when they come for you. And
oh. It appears that my game has had a critical error, so go ahead and go a radio commentator for me real quick as I try to get this one back.
Said it there, but I mean, probably more than likely, unfortunately, but that's racing.
Yeah, Silverstone at the end of the last season, wasn't it? From what I saw on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I won't call out divisions, but like there was quite a bit of divisions having their moments, but that's okay. I mean, it happens. Live and learn. Always another season, another race, but yeah. Going back to that battle. Wait a second. I'll actually, in order to aid, I'll actually stream for you, Alexa.
And we're back.
Oh, you're good?
Yep. Good luck for you guys in Discord. And my sincerest apologies for that. It seems that my Discord decided to crash, and I think ACC went with it. So that may be an explanation for why things just went wrong for me.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're looking at the leaderboard. Many people made their pit stops. As many people in the pits right now. Spangler, Lowe, Rose, everybody coming in for the pit stops. 34 minutes, 24 seconds remaining. It's a shame it wasn't 34-34, but guess that's what happens when you get these things. It's Jeff Spangler coming out the pit lane with, I believe that is another McLaren right in front of him. The 3 versus 9. Could we see these two going right at each other towards the checkered flag now that they both made their pit stops? Thoughts on this? Thoughts on what's going to happen, Andrew?
Yeah, we're that we could track everybody's pit stops and see what the undercut strategy could potentially be for everybody. But when you have so many close gaps between every single racer on the field, it feels like, you know, everybody's got a little bit of a strategy story going on. And speaking of Mikhail Charles, somebody who needs to make up some ground after what was I would say, a relative disaster here at the end of the straight there in turn 9-10.
Yeah, definitely. Selena, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say Ryder is just hanging around the back of him, and Mikhail still, I mean, I feel like he's just under a lot of pressure after what happened earlier, and he's still a little bit, he opts to pit. I was gonna say a little bit of a wiggle moment for him, but Ryder was like right on the back end of him, and he was just constant pressure by holding up that train from earlier, but
yeah,
opposite now. I mean,
that is a busy pit lane.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pit lane being busy, one thing to point out: top 4 all yet to pit. So it's going to be interesting to see how far they can take their tires.
Yeah, but looking at it though, I mean, Michael Manning with a 7.5 second gap to Mr. Sir, who has a 7.5 second gap to P3 Gomer Wilson. Escorcia is kind of distantly related to P3, but those podium positions do feel an awful lot like they're out of reach at this point. We start to see people coming out of the pits, and it's going to shake up the order mightily. I'm not even sure. Again, we can't keep track of how many people are losing or gaining positions based on time in the pits at this point.
Yeah, opt into the pits. I mean, the pit lane was really busy for a second there, but now quite a bit of drivers coming out of the pits. Finishing up, probably some taking damage.
Someone like Jason Allen, most likely repairing his damage.
Yeah, and maybe Mikhail Charles, possibly, I don't know, but, you know.
Yeah, definitely. One thing, with those pit stops as well, and we can't really see how much time they lost or anything, you've also got to wonder, those lap 1 incidents, with going into pit lane there, they might have been carrying damage from lap 1. Even if it was minor, of course it takes about 40 seconds to change your tyres, so any minor damage you can probably fix, as Sir, Wilson and Escoria all into the pit lane.
And this is actually, so Kay has just gone past, but Kay also has yet to pit. So not going to be a 4-position kind of moment there, but you can see everybody just about getting it out of the way. It's still the top 10 who have yet to pit, and Kay actually ranks amongst their numbers here, running in P2 right now, technically speaking, which is quite impressive. By some metrics, but most likely not going to be staying there. Going to drop down quite a few positions at that. Somebody, though, who may yet benefit and is kind of a bit unsure about where exactly it is that they stand in this race. Mia Rose, who is currently close up behind Kelvin Lau, who I believe Mia may be a little bit faster than, in terms of consistency, their best laps of the race only separated by about, well, I was going to say half a tenth, but now that's just changed as they both run new personal bests of the race, and Mia Rose was about 3/10 faster.
I'm just like looking across the track and oh, there's some little gaps, but after everyone off to pit, it was like kind of stretched out for a bit on the track earlier.
We had a very compressed race, and then after the pit stops, it's, you know, about as far apart as you'll probably see Div 1 all season long.
Actually, Guy Manperson in
Escorcia, that is.
Escorcia having a little battle moment. Guy Manperson trying to see what I can do on the inside, but not quite so.
I'm gonna hop on with Allen and Velez here, way in the back here. This is for P31 right here. This battle is, but Jason Allen takes that position. You know, after getting that damage repair, getting some fresh rubber on the Lamborghini. You know, he really needed those new boots. He was having some trouble there, especially through turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's ooh. That was having a little tiny friggin' a little late there.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about that fresh rubber, as a Lambo driver, I know it's console, but the tire model stayed pretty much the same. It's basically the same game on both of them. Even though you guys have already got the Ford, which I'm totally not jealous of. The Lamborghini, no matter what track you're on, it definitely likes to eat up that rubber, but once you got the fresh tyres on, they get up to temperature very, very quickly, and you can get that grip about halfway through the lap, or you can get that grip within half a lap compared to most other cars which I've driven, which takes about a whole lap to get into. So the Lamborghini, it eats it up pretty quickly, but once you got that fresh rubber on, you get into you can get into the groove again quite fast.
Indeed. Oh, and Ryder trying to take in good from the slipstream. Goes on the inside. Doesn't quite get it. Just
oh, there's gonna be contact.
He flashes damn good.
Not quite there. Starting to, hey, well, great news. We're starting to see another train form up. It's behind Omar Escorcia, currently in 15th position, and
all aboard the Ferrari train.
Choo-choo. Well, with that BMW behind, this is something we kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, right? You know, the front engine cars might have a bit of an advantage in some aspects of this track, but I feel like that cornering phase is going to belong to the Ferrari. So even if it is going to be for Guy Manperson to find the pace over top of Omar here in front, I don't necessarily feel like it's going to be enough. You just have to be able to beat them in the corners. In order to do that in a BMW, no offense to BMWs, of course, but that thing is much more lethargic than the Ferrari.
Oh, come on, everybody hates the BMWs, let's be honest. Road rage at its finest. Honestly, over here in the UK, you see a BMW, you're beeping the horn, but then again, you can't do that in this game, so you're probably flashing the lights at them.
Yep, and they don't use their indicators, so that's another thing.
Yeah, they don't use their indicators either. BMW drivers, we're looking at you. Use your indicators.
Okay, just now coming out of the pits, and I flashed over there a couple of times. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a race here with Gustavo Sanz, but I think Gustavo should have that one nicely, and Kay falls down into 23rd place, and I believe there's only a couple of pitters left, the top 3. That's Bez Barotka, Martin, and Rados, who have yet to pull in for the box. But Kay dropping a fair way down the order there.
Silver 1-2. What the heck is this?
I'm sure it'll last. I'm sure that Michael Menning is not. In fact, actually, hang on. Rados, if you take the wing cam here, you might see a little bit of, there's the Ford Mustang GT3 of Michael Menning in the background. even
Get out of the way.
Oh man, what a time to be alive.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine seeing him in your mirrors, and you'll be like,
wait a second.
As soon as he's behind me, I'm getting out of the way. Hello, top 2 into the pits.
Rado's going to see that number P1 appear on their screen very briefly, I imagine, with Menning very close up behind in the mirrors.
Right, you know what? Right, we're taking votes, people. How long do we say until he takes the lead again?
It's going to be by the end of this lap.
Yeah. Yeah.
I give it.
100%.
I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna give him 2 laps. I'm gonna be nice.
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is the BMW advantage, though. We were just talking about it. You know, the mid-engine cars are really, really good in the corners, but the M4 just pulls away on the straight. I mean, even with the slipstream, Dan Crane had a wonderful exit there out of T-last, but it was not quite enough, although it's getting a little bit shaky for the 599 just in front. I don't think they're going to find a way around the outside of turn 3. If you could do that, you are basically a living legend, or you're driving a Formula car.
I was about to mention that, if you're sending it around the outside of turn 3, you sure you're not driving a Formula 1 car, mate? But yeah, definitely, with the GT cars, a lot heavier, harder to rotate. And as interesting thing to point out here, actually, stop and go 30-second penalty for Martin, as without a doubt, Michael Menning once again into the lead. It didn't even take 1 lap, it took 2 sectors.
Just the better part of 2 sectors as well. You know, not even the full 2 sectors.
Yeah, not even the full. I think we need to agree on what we said earlier. Just give this man his own tier and make him 1v1 people to beat him.
Yeah. Well, I think a King of the Hill format probably wouldn't work very well for the Sim Racing Alliance, because Menning would just win everything anyway. But we'll see.
Yeah, true.
We need week 2 for it to be a completely random track that Michael Menning is not prepared for, but everybody else has, and then we'll see maybe if somebody could stand up to him. But now with Rados pulling into the pit lane, that gives Michael Menning a 10-second gap to P2, Mr. Sir. Nate Specht and Jeff Spangler are still kind of staying related to this. I might point out, we haven't really been on track with it a whole lot because of the gap further down the field has been quite small in many spots. But this is Specht just a couple of seconds distant from Mr. Sir, in front with Jeff Spangler and Jeremy Mercer also kind of in the conversation. You can see that's P4 just ahead of Mercer. So kind of trying to keep an eye on that. Dominic Duran is the only driver in the top 10 who's within a second of the car in front right now. That's Wilson in front in the Lamborghini. Very many McLarens here near the top of the order, I must say.
Yeah, the McLaren, even on the console side of things, the McLaren is very much a popular car. It's very well all-rounded, and especially for this type of season coming up with the fast and flowing circuits like Spa and Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, and the Nordschleife are coming up, as well as Imola and Donington, of course, the American tracks towards the end of the season. McLaren are a well-rounded car, and I'd say we could see plenty of them probably winning a race if Michael Menning decides, I'm going to take a skip week. But other than that, Michael Menning is an alien. I see him winning all of them. Your thoughts on what's going to be coming up for all the cars this season, Selena?
Yeah, I do agree on that one too, because it's really hard to be an alien too. But although Mia Rose, I believe she's an alien as well, so I mean, I'll be looking at her as well to see if she can also get up there as well, along with Michael Menning. But we all do know that, I mean, from the previous season, last season, Michael Menning being the champion, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing we've also definitely got to think about as well, Nia Rose, one of the Aussies, probably the amount of ping that she's getting with, of course, this being worldwide, but she's all the way in the east of the world. where this is very much a Western league from the United States. It's very much a American competing grid with a few spots in there, but Mia Rose sticking it in there with the States from Australia, definitely giving representation to the Aussies.
Yeah, all from the land down under. That's always awesome to see. Like just
From the land down under.
yeah,
Ooh.
it's I love seeing like people coming from across the other side of the world just coming here. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, very much. Sorry, Selena, I'm going to have to cut you off a bit there as there's contact between them. Ramirez and Charles, wheel to wheel, side by side. Through turn 4 towards turn number 5. Charles on the inside, Ramirez on the outside. Looking for the switchback is the Ferrari, but unable to get it done so far. Sorry, I had to cut you off there, Selena. Back to what you were saying.
But yeah, actually, I think I'm good now. But yeah, going to the battle with Mikal and Ramirez, like, I didn't quite check what happened. Like, I'm not sure if Mikal like made a move on Ramirez or if he's still in front, but it's looking pretty solid between the both of them. Mikal's still staying ahead because the Mustang doing its thing on the straights, being very fast, and the Ferrari doing its thing in the corners, being very fast. So don't think much has changed between the two of them.
Yeah, definitely. As Andrew, you're the one who allows me to see this, and you're the one who actually got onto that. So obviously, your thoughts on this one as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly as Selena says. It's just the Mustang in the straights. It's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do about it. It's not necessarily weak in the corners either, though, which is why Ramirez is having those issues. Even when there was that moment of, I guess you would say, understeer wide for Mikal Charles in the entry of turn 3, it really punished so much. Maybe missing the apex a little bit here is going to compromise their line. The Ferrari maybe looking up the outside of turn 3 this time, but we talked about this before. You simply cannot do it. Turn 3 will not favor you taking that outside line. You got to stay in so you can power down and go to the outside, and Mikal Charles will stay ahead here.
Yeah, you definitely saw it. You saw Ramirez there actually moving outside of the dirty air. It's one thing you got to look out for with the drivers as well, simply getting out of the way of the wake of the cars, because under braking, you definitely do not want to be in that dirty air and possibly locking up your brakes, causing an incident.
Yeah, Mikal Charles taking the aggressive line to defend. He's definitely looking really solid. I mean, if worst case scenario, if he loses it, then that is definitely when Ramirez is going to capitalize on his mistake. But until then, I think there won't be any change at all between the two of them, unless otherwise.
Yeah, definitely, as of course the best defense is a good offense. As looking at that Ford actually seeming to be a bit scruffy on the front end, maybe a bit of dirt picked up, showing how often he does go off. Where you look at the other cars, pretty nice and clean as we're currently watching. Dan Cran currently heading through turn 3. Of course, like Andrew said, it's not formula, so you can't send it around the outside of turn 3 unless you have a bit of a death wish and going off into the gravel, which you definitely don't want, as that will ruin your race and everybody else's. But heading down through turn 4 into turn 5 and into the left-hander. But like I said before, in the dirty air, you don't want to be braking in that, as you saw the McLaren having to catch the car right there, heading into the braking zone. Andrew, what do you think we can see from Crandon for the rest of this race behind the BMW?
If the Macca is having that many problems in the braking, I really don't know if there's a whole lot more that Dan can do about it, because you have to be able to rely on your tires in those fast corners, especially this one right here onto the middle straight. But if you're losing grip on those fronts and the rears and starting to lock up under braking on either side, you're going to have some major problems. Of course, you can't rely on carrying the speed as much if you can't find that grip under braking with the rear tires. So for Dan, it's really going to be a major challenge trying to get past this BMW that can just park in your way on the straights. There's not a whole lot to be done about it. So it's going to be a challenge for Dan if you didn't have that tire advantage early on, if you weren't able to make use of that tire advantage early on. And I mean, with the little bit of the rear locking under the brakes, it's also a testament to, you know, in the Macca Evo, you have to run. Oh, hang on a second. Patrick Rust is completely off. Patrick Rust into the pit lane.
RTG?
Whoa!
Oh, what
Hold
happened
up.
there?
Just RTG'd and out of the race. Patrick Rust.
Hold up.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
No.
wait a minute, from the way I saw that, there was no damage to that car either from what I saw, so it may be crazy to say this, and it may be, this is probably just pure speculation, but was that a setup issue and failure to put enough fuel in the car with 16 minutes remaining in this race?
You might be onto something there.
Yeah, that makes sense because there's no refueling. So, I mean, possible that he just didn't have enough fuel and just...
Maybe he was late for something.
Yeah, yeah. That too.
I mean, underfueling your car by 16 minutes is a long time, though.
Yeah, that's
you wouldn't feel like, for drivers this experienced, you wouldn't make that kind of an error, I would imagine. You see Brian Ryder trying to get up the inside potentially here for the turn 5 hairpin. There's just not enough space up inside the 110 McLaren. Talking about that downforce, maybe a little bit of a slide on the exit, but that's Dan Good just ahead, who is keeping it under control. Nicely done. And something else I'm keeping my eye on, by the way, while we're talking stories, we'll get back to that refueling shebang in just a second, but this is for a podium spot. Nate Specht, who I suspected might stay in place or move up, is in third right now, but with Spangler close behind here, now in slipstream range, like to like on the car. So this is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the silver driver up there, like I said in qualifying, silver drivers at the start as well. Silver drivers up here definitely looking to prove their worth up here in the top division, possibly getting to gold for next season, and it's definitely one to look out for, both in the McLaren. So the cars are equal. It will all come down to the setup. Right now, watching Andrew versus Charles once again down the inside into the chicanes, wheels side by side. But Charles, though, in the Ford, is going to send it down the inside into the chicane. Contact between the two. That's going to send the Ford off by acceleration on the exit as I hand it to Selena.
Oh, yeah, and right now, this is the Ford Mustang we're talking about. So he's right in the slipstream with Rados, getting that speed in, and is he going to make a move into turn 1? Is he going to do it? And looks like he sends it. He sent it and made that move done. He was not going to let that happen, and right now in front of Rados. Oh,
yeah, definitely. But
it's not over yet. It's not over yet, or is it? With that straight line speed again, but the Porsche has the inside, getting that corner. All handy dandy right on the inside, but it's definitely not over yet. I still think Mikkel having the inside still, it's going to go in the next corner with that Mustang straight line speed still hanging on the inside, on the outside. It's wiggling right through onto the curb. It's still not over yet.
Yeah, definitely.
9 tenths, I believe, 4 tenths behind, excuse me, but it's that straight line speed. There's still that speed left in that Mustang.
Yeah, plenty of speed left, and they kept it together. And excuse me, lads, this ain't Formula 1. You don't stick it around the outside at turn 3, but Charles did, and he definitely made it count. But once again, we're going to be going onto the main straight. The Ford is going to have the straight line speed, but look who is coming up in the background. Look, Dunham is going to be right there, so maybe unable to get past the Porsche is going to cost Charles the position to McLaren behind within the coming laps. 12 minutes remaining, 30 seconds. Over to you, Andrew.
It was a lot of door banging there. It took the better part of a lap for Rados to finally seal the deal on that move. But you can see how much time Mikkel has lost, about a 1.5 second gap to the car in front immediately. And I did consider mentioning that. Rados was the last to pit with about 24 minutes left to go in the race. So I can only imagine that fresher rubber paid a lot of dividends there. You could see the Porsche. It was not in the business of understeering through turn 3, and that's where Rados was really able to, get the elbows out, because that Mustang got him in the straight.
Going for the move. Right on the inside. Seems familiar from last. Oh, a little bit of banging doors. A little bit of banging doors. Oh, Mikkel squeezed through the inside. Still defends and is able to make that stick.
I want to go on with this, though.
Woo.
Robinson and Kish are going at it as well. Charles, I can guarantee you, Charles is going to be going up to the steward's booth, pulling a Magnus in this race, not in the good way.
But like I said, pressure. He's really feeling the pressure, like pretty much the whole race. But Colin Dunham is just not done with him yet. As poor Mikael is struggling by the looks of nearly the whole race, or the majority of it. But he's just caught. Ooh, a little bit of a peak there by Colin Dunham.
I've heard tell that the Mustang is not kind to the tires, and I think we're starting to see that a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's really starting to play a role here.
Whoa!
Yeah, very true. Oh, both go wide, actually. The McLaren going wide of the 444, though. Onto the main straight. The Ford definitely has the straight line speed as we move to this. Travis Robinson. And looking behind, we got Kish right in front of him. And it's going to be quite an interesting one with Robinson, Wilson, Sams, Kesey behind, as well as Lorente. And we've got 10 minutes remaining. A train starting to form. All aboard the Lamborghini train as it's going to be down into turn number 7. How long is this going to last? As it's all down to the drivers to do everything all together. But talking.
We skip back to Dunham and Charles.
Yeah,
we're skipping all over the place.
Again,
you guys got to keep up right now.
Spot.
But here's Dunham and Dunham. Oh, maybe it'll be a slow
he's onto the grass.
Dunham. He made it stick, but will he keep it stick? As it looks like he had a little bit of a bottoming out on that exit.
He's got it though. I wish I could play that one back, but my race control's been temperamental. I think that was like a little snap of oversteer from Dunham, but you saw, I think Mikael recognized it and tried to cede a little bit more space in the interest of preventing contact and ended up on the grass as a result. So that may have been what finished that fight there for Mikael Charles, who's already dropping way off. I'm seeing that gap already grow to about 0.8 of a second from Charles to Dunham. So those tires must be absolutely on fire right now for the Ford Mustang. But this battle continues here for P16. I mentioned that, you know, the biggest payouts you're going to get are in the top 15 positions, but that doesn't mean you want to seed any more further down that you go. I'm also still keeping an eye. Jeff Spangler within 1 second of Nate Specht. That's for P3 way up the field, but still not really a whole lot going on with that. And in this train even, Roy K still looking to move up against Gustavo Sanz in front.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. And going back to that Ford momentarily while we look at this battle, this may actually be interesting, but it may not actually be the tyres playing the part in the Ford falling further and further back for Charles. When you look at the front end of the car, we can't really get many good angles on it, but for me it looks like there is small bits of damage, so maybe he's just been accumulating it throughout the entire race, and the front end just isn't responding to him as much.
Yeah, he looked like he was struggling for quite a bit there, and it seemed to really be taking a toll on his yellow Mustang.
I think you're right on that one. But surely the tire wear is not going to help with that.
Yeah,
yeah, the tire wear will just make... The tire wear... You've already got a bit of damage. The tire wear just kicks in it, and it's like, you're already having a bad race? Let me make it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I had stats for how late it was that they pitted, but I don't believe that I do have that. So we're keeping on board with this train. It looks like it's going to be the majority of the action until the end of the race. Spangler starting to drop a little bit off of Specht ahead. Of course, it is still Michael Menning with a 16.8 second gap to Mr. Sir behind him. And then rounding out the podium is Nate Specht, 6.5 seconds back from P2. But another story kind of developing further down the field. We have Omar Escorcia just up behind Mia Rose, who has been a bit of a story so far tonight, and really I expect to be one throughout the season.
Yeah, definitely. Mia being an absolute underdog. Of course, hopefully we'll be able to see that Barbie car next week, as of course that's the car she's running, shown yesterday in, not yesterday, a few days ago, my bad, in the livery reveals with Bailey, the absolute livery reveal legend. And Mia Rose, underdog, the gal from down under, definitely one to watch throughout the rest of this season in their trusty McLaren.
Looks like Sans is looking up on the inside of Rory K. Really behind him.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one we need to watch. Like the train, it's just starting to kick off, and 6 minutes 26 remaining. Of course, we're going to hear the race engineer when it says leader on final lap, and we'll go to Andrew first for this question, then we'll go to you, Selena. Do we think any of these drivers could get desperate within the final few laps to get up those slight positions?
I think no. I think no, because yes, you might gain one position, but if you make a lunge and the stewards find you guilty of making some contact, even if you gain that one position, guess what? You're going to lose 2 or 3 from a 5-second penalty. This looks like a good opportunity, though, for Gustavo Sans up the inside of Wilson, and that is a clean move for the 941 Mercedes.
Nice.
Well,
Very nice. Oh,
through turn 3. I do not think there's a chance there. I really don't. And that'll be that one done.
The camera angles are interesting in Barcelona because it looks like
I'm trying to work them nicely, but it is a little bit challenging, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Alan, actually. Oh,
yeah.
Never mind. Oh, wait, this is Mikhail Charles again with the Ford Mustang with damage. Maybe a little bit extra draggy in the straights because that Lamborghini is coming up fast. Late on the brakes it down into turn 1. Contact is made.
Contact!
Inside. So I think that's going to be the move done.
Oh.
Could we see
damage? Oh.
Yeah, that is unlucky for the Ford, and that's just going to be more damage accumulating for him.
Yeah.
He's going to drop down to P28 of how many runners in this? 35?
32 now. I believe 36 took the grid. So it's not looking good for Charles, who has had, it must be said, a nightmarish race in so far.
Yeah, I mean, looking for the rest of the season for him as well, looking at the tracks what's coming up, I'd say he's not going to be having a good time until Spa, because the tracks that we got coming up are pretty corner heavy compared to the straight line speed for the Ford Mustang.
Kind of skipping around in all the smaller gaps that we have. Omar Escorcia is still right up behind Mia Rose ahead. Keeping an eye on this train. Latore actually with a wonderful run here against Kay in front, but Kay shows him the outside line. That Ferrari gonna see if they can make it stick, and maybe just enough space for the nose, but I think Kay thinks better of it. He's going to let that Ferrari through, and again, if you take a penalty at this point, you're most likely going to be losing a position or two. Brian Ryder, I think, was looking for something as well, but they just didn't quite have that speed, and Kay falling behind now into P21.
Yeah, definitely falling further and further down the grid is definitely not good for you, but also moving up the grid is good for you, of course. Even though you may not get points, which I will need to update myself on for the point system after this race, my apologies, but even if you don't get points, where you finish on track can help you out in the driver standings in case of a countback.
We do have points, I think, all the way down the order here at SRA, thankfully. So even if you're, even if you're maybe struggling a little bit to find those positions, you should still be doing all right for yourself. Brian Ryder's still up behind there, Dan Good. Andrew Rados is also coming up now behind David Ramirez in front. This is a driver who, I might remind you, pitted later than most of the field, so probably has some fresher rubber than the car in front. So we'll have to keep an eye on that gap as well, but it really is all about this train at this point, with Bailey Kish leading.
A lot of action going on this train, as we've seen so far. The gaps are a little spread out though, but I mean, it's only a matter of time before it squeezes back in again.
At least a lot of attempted action.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe sometimes to a fault, but lots of action, yes.
Yeah, just over 2 minutes left, so yeah.
I mean, attempted action is still action at the end of the day, so it keeps us entertained, and it definitely keeps all the drivers on the toes, because you don't want to be getting too comfy in the race, because if you start to get too comfy and then a driver comes up behind you, it can catch you quite off guard.
Taking a look at the gap in front, it's 0.6 seconds from Peter O'Brien to Jeremy Mercer, and especially with 2 minutes left in the race, you might see a little bit of a more aggressive lunge in the cards. Andrew Rados has also brought down the gap to 0.6 seconds. I saw that actually sneak down to 0.5 there for a second as well. What have you seen?
Charles. Yeah, it's actually sorry, Selena, but I've seen this. This is Charles' race over. He's got a drive-through.
No.
Sorry, Charles. Sorry, Charles, but you picked up. It's definitely not your day. You're gonna have to pack it. Definitely gonna be an awkward driver briefing back in the motorhome.
That is just.
He's had such a race for this first round of Barcelona, and Barcelona is of no means an easy track. So I know personally here, I've been back in season 6. It wasn't pretty, but yeah, Barcelona does that.
Truly one of the races of all time for Mikhail Charles.
Yeah, I mean Barcelona. It's challenging. It's very much challenging, but it also punishes driver quite a lot. And personally, that's what makes it a good season opener, in my opinion, and why a lot of teams in the GT world and a lot of formulas use it as the pre-season testing track, because it's very good to get used to your car with, but it's also very hard to master. But if you can master it, then you're going to have one hell of a ride. Speaking of ride, watching Brian Ryder in the, I believe, June-inspired liveried Aston Martin as we move over to Rados on the back of Ramirez, and going to be going through turn number 3, heading down towards turn number 4, as leader has finished a race. That was earlier than I expected. I thought we would have had an extra lap. Currently still watching these two Rados. I think we know who's won, and I think Andrew will be able to fill us in on who's won, as he definitely knows who it is. But currently still going throughout the rest of this race. Currently watching P5 of Andrew as we move over to Escoria. Looking at Omar.
Yep. Trying to get past Mia Rose for the last good while, but has not been able to make it happen. But yeah, that finish came up on us quite fast there, but it was Michael Menning in the end who took it. Omar is not going to be able to make it past Mia Rose, who makes a top 10 finish in the debut race. Very, very nice result indeed. Bailey Kish is going to come across the line, it looks like, ahead of Travis Robinson and Gustavo Sanz just behind them in 18th. Wilson 19th. Latore in 20th, and K in 21st. Hard-fought battle for many, many drivers. Brian Ryder's going to be looking for the switchback. Actually, this could potentially be a move in the very last corner. Space not there, though. The McLaren's able to take the racing line, and Dan Good will hold off Brian Ryder for what feels like an age. Rado's not able to get the last move done there against Ramirez. Their second stint, quite a good one with many, many overtakes for Rados, but an eventful race overall here for Division 1.
Yeah.
Dunham crosses the finish line.
Goodness gracious.
Wow, what a race, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
wow.
And very eventful. And also, one thing that we cannot ignore, silver driver, P3 on track overall, just behind the dominant Fords up top, of course, being led by the Alien.
There goes Mikhail Charles across the line as well, who I think will gladly take the participation points for tonight. Certainly not the result that they wanted, but the result that they ended with, and well, that's all you can really say about it. It's been an interesting race one. Certainly had quite a few good moments. I wish that some things could have gone over better. That game crashing in the middle of the race certainly did not help. But yeah, that's the way that it goes. It's round one. It's a new season. There's growing pains for everybody.
Yeah, this happens. This usually happens at the start of the season, where everyone's just like trying to get dialed in back into the rhythm of the team series again, whole new season, and yeah, these things happen. It's nothing new. But, another race to do better.
Another day, another dollar. I mean, talking about it, though, there certainly are plenty of stories that we could go over in retrospect. I think Mikhail Charles is probably one that we're going to try to put to bed a little bit and maybe look forward to something potentially better out of them in the future. But Michael Menning, I mean, this was expected. Mr. Sir coming in second, but Nate Specht, quite a good performance. Jacob Palmieri, I don't actually remember if he finished the race. I don't remember seeing him on the left-hand side. And after that lap 1, honestly, could I blame him? I don't know. He had tons and tons of success last season, but debut for Division 1, not the greatest performance. So hopefully a bit of a return to form, if you could even call it that, seeing as how we just started everything here. For Jacob Palmieri would be wonderful next week. But Barcelona, like we said at the outset of the stream, we kind of expected a good mix of action, a lot of challenging corners, and Division 1, I think, delivered quite nicely, with a little bit of door banging here and again.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, it's Division 1, like the fastest division we have. It's always like very incredible to see all like the fastest drivers here in this top division just going at it and duking it out. So, and first time commentating on it. So I really enjoy seeing the fastest drivers and trying to learn from what they're doing, just being fast.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, we're going to have to close it out here with final thoughts pretty quick. I got to run. Alexa, thoughts?
Definitely absolute alien up the top, the good old 2 Fords. But personally, one thing I definitely do have to talk about real quick here is Mia Rose. Absolute standout in this race. Very good charge through the field. The gal from Down Under definitely needs to be looked at going into the rest of this season and could possibly finish P3 in the championship. I'm saying this very early on, but I can see her very high up towards the end.
I was about to say, aspiring to P3. I mean, could aspire to P1? Will it happen? Probably not, just because Mike Menning. That is the only reason why. But yeah. But before we head off, I do want to give a huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at the Sim Racing Alliance, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. You can go to documise.com to learn more today. Support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming, based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. You can enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. And a huge thank you to all of our affiliates: Track Racer, experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. I could actually use a new sim rig, so I might just use code SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced heads-up display to change the way you experience ACC. AT3D Sim Shop. Upgrade your sim racing experience with premium 3D printed accessories featuring precision crafted magnetic shifters, sleek cable management solutions I could really use, actually, versatile stream deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. Their innovative designs enhance performance and style. You can elevate every lap with top-tier quality and craftsmanship at at3d.net. Go Setups, premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Again, highly recommend. I love Go Setups. And from Castle and Cauldron, a home-based crafting business specializing in handmade Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and Fairy World collectibles, magic wands, potions, mini dioramas, wall decor, costumery, cosplay, and much more. Castle and Cauldron is where crafting meets the magical. Visit facebook.com/Castle Cauldron. Ooh, all right. So, all that behind us now. Round 1 over. Huge thank you to the sponsors again. I am ready to call it a day. I don't know about you guys, but especially I feel so inadequate. I gotta go do some laps now. That's how I feel. I don't know.
Yeah, watching D1. Yeah, I know. The faster division. It's like, yeah, I feel slow.
Wait. You guys have got to do laps. It's 3:52 a.m. for me.
Yeah, that means that you're just starting on track day. I think that means you gotta get out there, Alexa.
yeah, gonna be getting out on track while half sleep deprived. That will end well.
Well, that's going to be it for us today. We'll see you guys next week. Sim Racing Alliance, of course, we will be back on the YouTube channel tomorrow with the other divisions that are going to be racing. It's going to be me and Selena on track for D3 and D2, respectively. Selena outqualified me this season, which, unfortunate that I won't be able to rival you on track. But if you want more racing action, they will be live on the channels tomorrow. But for now, we will see you guys next week for Division 1 action at Imola. See you then.